Alrighty, so we're looking at a delta. I call this a trail delta. As you can see, it's a linear buildup of soil, and we can see that because it is higher than on the left and higher on the right. And anytime I see this out on a trail, I'm going to predict that the trail up above that location of the delta is definitely eroding. And what happens is all of that soil that gets taken away by a rainstorm or melting snow or whatever moves, and then as it slows down, water can no longer carry that sediment, and it drops it out. And that's what we see here. We kind of are at a flat area, and as water came down, it dropped out its sediment load, and that's what creates these deltas. And again, anytime we see this effect, then we're going to predict that there's no water management. And that is certainly the case. Water is allowed, or being allowed, to run a very long distance here. There's no effective water management, and that's why we see this water-based erosion. It's actually on both sides. And we see an old school water bar right here that is kind of eroded out, or rotted out, I should say, right here. And obviously it's not doing anything. It probably never did really work, because what happened is immediately when this was placed, water was coming down, hit the water bar, slowed it down too much, and then it dropped its sediment load on the uphill side of that water bar. And then as that filled in, it created a waterfall instead of turning water. And you can see that water is distinctively coming across right here with more velocity than it had up above it. Again, that's what I call the water bar waterfall effect. And so, good drainage structures, good water management structures are key. And I worked on the U.S. Forest Service Trails Manual back in the day. I don't remember what year it is, but I was on the review team. And, basically what we said was rolling grade dips are preferred over old school water bars. And that's a really good example back there of the why. When we see water bars fail, they typically fail in a rather catastrophic way, meaning that they cause more erosion on the downhill side. Whereas if a rolling grade dip fails, it doesn't have that same effect. So as you can see, this is 2+ feet below grade. Hopefully you can make that out in the video. But 2 feet below grade, trapping water. We see distinctive, pretty fresh erosion here. And we're coming up upon another water bar, old school water bar. That's right here, cutting across. And again, that failed, didn't work, and at this point in time is actually accelerating water with that water bar waterfall effect as they fail. And again, the concept is, you see that as far as my eye can see, no water management. Water's kind of moving pretty fast through here, and it hits that water bar, and it dropped out its sediment load on the uphill side of that water bar, and then it failed. So again, no water management so far. Pretty much, I've done about, 7-8 miles so far. And there's definitely no water management anywhere on this section of the Metolius Wendigo Trail. Certainly there was no undulation in the initial design and implementation of the trail. And there's been no good water management since the original installation of the trail. another sort of check dammy kind of thing, and water just spills over that. And this looks like there's been a pretty fresh rainstorm is what I'm seeing. And the reason I kind of know that is when we look at these snow fields, they're a very slow release. Things at rest like to stay at rest. So they're a slow release, and we can see coming out of the bottom of that, we see water's trickling out of it very slowly, and it actually percolates down through the soil matrix pretty quickly, and then the trail is completely dry 10 feet away from this big snowbank. But things in motion like to stay in motion, and that means rainfall, a thunderstorm effect, and I think that's what we're seeing here. We have had a pretty recent rain event. Obviously, it's kind of scattered, but the scouring of gravel here is telling me that it definitely hit this area. Yeah, this trail is definitely changing. This trail is distinctively eroding because of a lack of any good water management. Again, initially installed, but also after the fact.